Hi everybody, my name is Phil Gervasi, and in this video I'm going to walk you through 10 settings in Zoom that you can use to prevent Zoom bombings, or in other words, unwanted, uninvited Zoom attendees co-opting your audio and video and possibly sharing inappropriate content. So let's get started. Now what we're going to do is log into the host's profile account on the homepage zoom.us. Now I've already done that, and I'm going to just click on my account here in the upper right, and it brings us to our profile page. Now here on the left we have our admin menu. I'm going to expand account management and then select account settings. And this is a great spot that you can find all the features that you need to optimize your Zoom meetings in general, but I'm going to focus on those 10 settings that you can use to prevent Zoom bombings. Now you don't have to use every single one of these settings here. You can just pick and choose what's most relevant for you. Let's start with join before host. Now I don't allow participants to join my meetings before I do as the host. So I keep this disabled always. The next thing that you want to do is, or that you can do, is only authenticated users can join meetings. Once this is enabled, you have a couple of options. You know how you email all your attendees an invitation, right? So that email address can then in turn become a login for that user. So that way no one else can log in unless they received an email directly. So that's a great way to lock it down. You can also create a group of users right here in the admin portal that Zoom will use to authenticate incoming attendees. There's a little bit of labor involved there and an extra step for your attendees, but it's a great way to lock down who can join. The next thing is to require a password, and you can require a password for somebody joining by computer or by phone. Once that's enabled, it will automatically generate it in the software, and it will add it to the email invitation. Now, you can wipe that out and create your own custom password, and that's fine. The downside of this is that you're emailing everybody the password, so it can be forwarded. Now, if you decide to delete that from the email and just start a phone chain or text it, whatever you want to do, it's still publicly disseminated information and can be shared, so it's not foolproof. The next thing that you want to do or consider doing is mute participants upon entry. And you can see it, read it here. Automatically mute all participants when they join the meeting. The host controls whether participants can unmute themselves. It's very powerful. I actually don't use that much because, I can just kick somebody out if they're starting to be cause trouble. But that is another option. Now, the next thing that you want to do is consider disabling chat. Now, I rarely do this. I haven't heard of many people having issues with the chat function, but there's a potential that somebody could chat out to everyone some inappropriate comments. So you can disable that either to the group or one-on-one. The next is very important. You want to keep this disabled. I don't think I've ever shared files through Zoom, so I just keep the file transfer function disabled. And the reason is that you can share viruses through Zoom. So if you have an unwanted guest that's engaging in some nefarious activity, they can certainly share files that way. So keep it disabled. Now, the next one here, let's scroll down a little bit more, is screen sharing. This is very important. Disable screen sharing for all your participants. Only the host should be able to share their screen. So you can see here I have it enabled, locked, and set to host only. Now, if you trust your participants, you can change that so everybody can kind of share their screen if you're doing some kind of collaborative work like that. Ultimately, though, I keep this always as host only because it's the most popular way for Zoom bombing. Some unwanted guest joins the meeting and then shares their screen, and it's, wildly inappropriate content. So keep that as host only. The next, you want to scroll down here, disable allow remove participants to rejoin. You don't want them to be able to rejoin. If you have to go so far as to kick somebody out, whether they were, uninvited or somebody invited that's just causing trouble, you don't want them to be able to click that link and then rejoin right away. So disable it. Once they're out, they can't rejoin. That's an important one. Now, you can also prevent people from changing their virtual background because that's a way that you can throw some inappropriate content right there on the screen for everybody to see. I haven't heard of that happening too much, but that's another option. And the last one here, on this page at least, is the waiting room. Now, the waiting room is really neat. What happens is when attendees join your Zoom meeting, they get redirected into what Zoom calls a waiting room. And then that will prompt the host to approve or disallow that person from entering. So you have total control over who enters the room. And you can see their name or screen name or whatever they're using. And so you know who it is. Now you have some of these settings in the Zoom client as well when you schedule a meeting. So I'm going to minimize this window and open up my Zoom client. I'm already logged in and you can see I have a meeting this evening. So what we're going to do is set up a test meeting. We'll just call it test meeting. And you can see here that I can click the box or check the box to require a password. Automatically generated that number, so I can just change it if I wanted to. Here under advanced options, I have a lot of those same features. Not all of them, but I have a lot of those same features. I can check those boxes on and off and use what I want to, use what I think is most appropriate for my meeting before scheduling the meeting. Now, if you use all of these features, you will create an atmosphere that the Zoom meeting is very locked down. So pick and choose what works best for you. I recommend that you disable file sharing as a best practice, and you always set the screen sharing to host only mode. Those two functions alone will take care of a lot of the Zoom bombing problems. Hope this helps. Thanks.